Hello and welcome to a very special broadcast from the Endowing America Network Foundation. I'm Les Winston. I'm the national spokesperson for socialsecharity.org, and we are trying to get the thought of 664 across to the public in a way that you'll think about using this section of the tax code when you're doing some financial planning and you have some events that are coming up that may lead to taxation and you want to create more retirement income. Socialsecharity.org. Social security tools are very powerful and they can build endowment. One of the ways that we are very much supportive of is through community foundations. And I had an opportunity uh, recently to interview Michael Chatman, who is with the community foundation. Here's that interview. Hello and welcome to today's edition of Route 664, Road to Human Kindness. And this program is all about philanthropy and how philanthropy can help solve the great problems of the country today. And my guest is Michael Chatman. Michael is very much involved in philanthropy. So, Michael, why don't you give us a little thumbnail sketch of what you're doing to help the world?
Well, thank you so much, Les. I am a fan. I've been hearing about your show for a while. So I started my career off with Anheuser-Busch. So I come from a background of corporate philanthropy and corporate social responsibility. Did that for a period of 18 years before I transitioned over to the family philanthropy as well as community foundation philanthropy, where I now serve as the CEO of the community foundation in the Southwest Florida corridor, which covers areas like Naples, Sanibel Island, Marco Island, Cape Coral, Fort Myers, parts of Sarasota. So we cover about 7 different counties and about 43 cities in our area, and we work with a lot of high-end network philanthropists and those who are going through major liquidity events in their lives, and they're looking to open donor advised funds and do all their giving. So that's what I'm doing right now, Les.
So tell us a little bit about community foundations, because I don't think the listening audience is fully, they haven't really been educated to the extent that they need to be about community foundations and the kind of things that they can use a community foundation for. I don't think they really understand the benefits that the donor can get. So maybe you can enlighten us a little bit about that.
Sure, be happy to do that. So the concept of a community foundation was actually started about 100 years ago in Cleveland. And it was this idea that much in the same way that universities would form their own university endowment, communities wanted to do the same thing and replicate the idea. So there was a movement afoot about 100 years ago, Les. Now we're at roughly about 900 community foundations across the U.S. and United States alone. And about maybe 75% of all of the communities in the United States is touched or covered to some degree by a geographical community foundation. And then it more from now, how do we go about defining what is a community now? It's not just geography, but it's women, it's your ethnicity. So many different things can define a community foundation. So, but it's a big movement. And through that, donors can come to us and they can open up a donor advised fund or a cheap version. I'm preaching to the choir, Les. I know a cheap version.
That's okay. You're not. Don't forget, you're preaching to maybe 30, 40 million people out there. So
wonderful. Yeah. So they could come to a community foundation and create their own foundation within a larger community foundation without all the costs that are associated with starting a private foundation. And we work with the individual donor to receive their gifts, regardless of the types of gifts they want to make in order to fund their donor advised funds.
What does that mean? What is a donor advised fund?
A donor advised fund basically is a way of a donor making a major liquidity event, coming to a community foundation, having those funds operate very similar to a family foundation, but using the community foundation as a fiscal agent, if you will, or a pass-through entity to handle all the charitable donations. The donor has doesn't really own the funds once they come to the community foundation. However, the government does give a lot of wiggle room to the individual donor to advise the fund as to where the funds should go. So in most instances, if the donor establishes a fund and says, I want my fund to go to XYZ charity, as long as it's a bona fide, legitimate 501c3 or government entity, or religious institution, we could direct those gifts directly to where the donor wants the money to go.
So when you say when they're having some sort of fiscal event, what do you give us an example?
They sold a business. They inherited some money. Usually those types of situations, they're facing retirement now. They have a paid up life insurance policy, but they don't really need the money to live off of, so they can liquidate that. We can sell it all, receive that into a fund, and they could do all their charitable giving through that. Yes. And
do they get a tax deduction for the?
Yes, they do. They do. They do get a tax deduction for it. That's the beautiful thing about it. Yes.
Okay. So let's say, for example, the family of John Doe, let's say he has a stock portfolio and he's, kind of afraid of the market right now, and he wants to liquidate some of that stock. How can you help him?
Well, they can come to us, and there are many different options of how a community foundation can be able to help them under those set of circumstances. He can fully liquidate all of the stock, can liquidate a part of it to live off of that would go into a fund, and part of it can also provide income to the individual, as well as the other one can pass through to the charity of their choice. So there's so many different wrinkles. That's the beautiful thing about a community foundation is its flexibility and the different things that you could do through a donor advised fund.
So how does an individual get, obviously the fund is not totally known to everybody. So how would the public, get to use the foundation in Southwest Florida that you're part of, the community foundation there?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we're known as the Community Foundation, and you could just basically go to our website at capecoralcf.org. capecoralcf.org would be the way to do that. The beautiful thing about community foundations now is because of the proliferation of the internet, the fact that we can set up a fund anywhere in the world and work with donors anywhere because of the internet has really changed the game. I think that's the question you're asking, Les.
Yeah, obviously they can go online and find so it's the Cape Coral Community Foundation. Cape, you do it that way. Cape Coral
CF.org. Yes.
.org. Okay, CapeCoralCF.org. So if you're in the Cape Coral area or in Southwest Florida, and you're going to have some sort of financial event where you're going to end up, I assume they're using it to eliminate tax. Is that one of the things that you're suggesting, that if they have a taxable event, they can maybe mitigate some of those taxes?
Absolutely. So the beautiful thing about what we do, Les, is that we're always working in concert with the individual donor as well as their tax advisors. So obviously we can't give tax advice. We're not CPAs. We're not estate planning attorneys, but we always have a seat at the table as the philanthropic advisor to work with the donor's team to find out the best tax saving opportunities for the donor.
So Michael Chatman, a professional philanthropic advisor in Cape Coral, Florida, and what is your position with the Cape Coral Community Foundation?
CEO.
Oh, okay, great. So if you have a situation where you're going to end up with maybe a long-term capital gain that you don't want to pay all of the tax on, you want to try and avoid some of those taxes, or you're an itemizing tax filer, you can also utilize your charitable deduction and you can make it better, right? Is that one of the techniques that you're now using quite a bit of, Michael?
Yes, that is one of the techniques that we're using. So
how does that work?
Well, again, I'm so hesitant because I know that every time I deal with a donor, the the accountant, the estate planning attorney, the wealth advisor, they're always at the seat of the table, and they like to work in conjunction with their client because we're not technically allowed to give out that type of advice.
Okay, so basically you're offering them a charitable alternative,
Yes.
and they don't have to make the decision right away as to where that money is going to go, as to what charity that's going to go to, except that it's going into the community foundation.
Yeah, that's a very great point that you bring out, Les. In fact, majority of our donors just want to get the tax deduction now and then take their time to figure out where they want the money to go. In most instances, though, majority of the donors know where they want that money to go. So we don't get a lot of discretion. So what happens oftentimes when you have the local charities in town find out that a donor has come to us and they've opened up a fund, and they now see that as a new opportunity to be able to solicit the donor through us to get those charitable dollars. But for the most part, the donor already knows they have a heart for animals or they have a heart for food insecurity. So if they don't know the specific organizations, they most certainly know the field of interest that they want to focus on.
So suppose somebody that's a donor advisor actually dies. Can they pass
Yes.
that donor advisor status on to somebody else in their family, or to somebody?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, that's a succession plan. So, in most times, in every case, when a donor comes to us, providing they do have heirs or children or someone that they want or grandkids, they will build into the fund document underneath our umbrella to say that if something should happen to me, I want this fund to pass on to my kids or my grandkids or my brother or sister to keep continuing my charitable giving.
But it's as an advisor. They don't have any rights to the money. They just have the ability to advise it. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes, they just advise.
Okay.
So yeah.
And can they suppose that somebody is very happy with their own financial advisor? Can they utilize their own financial advisor when they provide, if they were to make that type of a gift to your organization? Can your organization allow them to have their own financial advisor?
Yes, they can. In fact, that's where the whole trend and movement has moved towards the list. It's very difficult to be in business as a community foundation without allowing that level of flexibility. Now, the challenge with that, I wouldn't say really a challenge, but one of the ways we work around that is that as an organization, we have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that whoever the donor chooses to use can't go too far removed from our own investment mix or our own portfolio. But as long as they're keeping close to that, I think that there's a lot of wiggle room for that to happen for the individual donor to use their advisor. Yes.
Okay, so as long as they stay within guidelines that you establish for the investment advisors.
Correct. Absolutely. Because the way we operate is that we have a independent investment advisory committee made up of regional entrepreneurs, estate planning folks, wealth managers who serve as kind of a watchdog group to the outside entity that manages our unrestricted dollars, where we do the majority of our grant making. Right. And so there is a policy, an investment policy that is set up. And so when the individual donor comes to us and say, we don't want to solely exclusively have your fund manager manage the money, we say to them, this is what we're doing. We would like for you to stay at least as close to this as possible. But yes, they can manage the money. Yes.
Good. So, we're a project of the Endow America Network Foundation, and Endow America, the Endow America Network Foundation, that the names, that kind of speaks for itself.
Yes.
So tell me how a community foundation fits into that name, Endow America.
Well, I would appreciate if you could educate me on Endow America, because quite frankly, I'm not familiar with Endow America.
Okay. So our objective is to create endowment for nonprofit organizations in our local communities so that they don't have to spend a lot of time raising money. That's one of the big problems that we have. So endowment is a means to that end. If we can create enough capital within the nonprofit organization's own control, they can invest that and they can use the income from that to support their work. And that's I think that's one of the major problems I think that most nonprofit organizations today have is trying to raise the money that they need to operate, and that takes a lot away from their actual charitable purpose. The charitable purpose is not to raise money. Charitable purpose is usually to serve the community in some way. So you're actually building funds in the charitable sector. You're building charitable wealth and doing it in the community foundation envelope. We're kind of like a community foundation as well.
Yes.
And we want to support nonprofit organizations, and we don't have any preference as to the organization. The donor does. So in a sense, we're kind of doing something similar to what you're doing. How much endowment? Actually, how much in a realm of millions is there? What is the current holdings of the community, the Cape Coral Community Foundation?
So for us, very small with our region. We're about 15 million, a little over 15 million in our area. There are 8 other community foundations within our region that would be significantly larger. Some, I think the largest being about 400 million. Right. So we are small. So even though we do a lot in the area of obviously endowment and grant making, our real niche is in the area of nonprofit capacity building. So we serve as a capacity building, helping small charities and nonprofits to operate and function like businesses. Now, our area is very unique. I love the mission of Endow America. I really do, and applaud the efforts of that. In our area, because we're a retiree community, people don't like to build the endowment in our area. So,
well, building, I mean, if you could fund a hospital there, you know, or a senior care center or a daycare center, and you had enough money in an endowment so that they didn't have to worry about raising money, that would be a boon to the community, obviously, and help
yes, it would.
Some of the community's problems. I think we can solve all of our community's problems if we use endowment properly.
Yes.
So, you know, the other thing is that the program is called Route 664, and 664 refers to a section of the tax code that has to do with social charity planning, using charitable remainder trusts, charitable gift annuities, and pooled income funds. Do you are you familiar with? Do you use those in your work?
Charity remainder trust, most certainly. Again, at that point, we usually turn that over to the advisors to handle that on behalf of the clients.
Right.
And then we just become the charitable vehicle. But yes, we are familiar with that. Yes.
Great. Okay. So Route 664 is a road to human kindness, and so is the Cape Coral Community Foundation. And we certainly applaud all of the efforts that you're making to accumulate charitable wealth in the country and to help people become smart donors. I think that's one of the benefits of the community foundations, is that they help people with their philanthropic planning and their charitable planning. So I certainly am happy to make your acquaintance, Michael, and to get to know you. And hopefully we can work together in the future on some of these projects as well. We've been active in a lot of community foundations in the past, where a donor has a leaning towards their own community, and so those in Cape Coral, if they want to help an organization, they're not sure what organization is right now, but they want to take advantage of the tax deductibility of a gift, they can do that using the community foundation at Cape Coral. So, Michael, thank you very much for joining us today. Do you look forward to each morning when you get up?
I do. I didn't know what to anticipate here, but this has been a pleasant surprise. I've really enjoyed this.
Good. I'm glad to get this opportunity to chat with you, and we'll look forward to doing this again, Michael. I appreciate your time.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Les.
You're welcome. You. Yeah, thank you, Wanda. Thank you for putting together this interview, and we're going to carry on.
Well, thank you.
Good to work on this basis with you. Take care. Yeah, so that was Michael Chatman. Got cut off there. We can tell you that I told him he needs to go to Facebook, YouTube, and certainly we're going to be replaying his interview on Route 664 radio.
that can be found at route664.org/radio. And we invite you, of course, to go to the website at socialsecharity.org. Social charity with an SE in front of it, socialsecharity.org, and find out more information about what we're doing with Endowing America Network Foundation and basically the premises, the purposes behind our mission and what we're trying to accomplish. Endowing America is no small feat, but it starts at the community level. And my next guest is at the community level. He's a dear friend and a very important person in the Chamber of Commerce in Aventura and Sunny Isles Beach. And he's the ambassador for the chambers, and that's Joe Gabris. Good morning, Joe. How are you?
I'm doing great, Les. How you doing today? And Happy
Good.
New Year to everybody.
Yeah, that's right. It's the first show since the new year. Happy
Yeah.
New Year to you. Yeah, so tell me a little bit what's going on in Aventura and Sunny Isles Beach.
Well, you know
really
that
very
our
important parts of the county. Yeah, go ahead.
our membership drive is moving forward, and we have a new member that's come on board. And by the way, Lily Lou Minkoff from Hair Cuttery, she was very impressed with my great video, the one that was put together by Wanda. Joe knows Sunny Isle Beach, and Joe knows Miami Squeeze. And we're hoping that this will catch on to other members in the community. And big shout out to our members, because this charitable remainder trust is a very, very important component to what it is that we're doing in the community. And big shout outs to you, Les. Just a reminder, I think it's next week, we have planned a special guest on your show, Commissioner Lucia. Is that right?
Yes, Lucia Bays-Gale. We got
Yeah.
Geller. Yes, she's the local commissioner and a school board representative for our region at Aventura and Sunny Isles Beach. Yeah, thank you for reminding me.
Well, yeah, and I want to remind all our viewers to please tune in, because this is going to be a very, very, very special meeting. We're going to be talking about meetings coming up in the very near future about building our community-based charter high school in Sunny Isle Beach. It's one of the fantastic things that our members can contribute to, whether spiritually or, it's comment. Or, we're interested in them becoming members of our pooled income fund as well.
Good. Okay. So you hit on a lot of topics there. Let me back you up for 1 second.
Sure.
Tell me a little bit more about the new member. What is the new member? I think it's a hair salon, right?
Yeah, it's a hair salon. It's Hair Cuttery, and she is the marketing director for the Hair Cuttery, and they're new to.
Have you been to their space yet? Have you been to visit the space yet?
No, I have not yet. No,
Okay.
I've reached out to her a couple of times, and I did receive some feedback. It's limited, though.
Mm-hmm.
They are based out of Virginia, so they're new to the area.
Okay.
So
good. Well, we always like to welcome new businesses. And hopefully they're going to have a grand opening or ribbon cutting coming up at some point in the future, and we'll be very, very proud to help them get the name out into the community. And Joe, you serve very well at that for that purpose. And Joe Knows, if people are not familiar with the Joe Knows commercials, they're very entertaining, and they get the point across. You can check them out on our website. Check them out also on the Chamber website, on Aventura Sunny Isles Beach Chamber of Commerce website. That's asibchamber.org. If you want to find out more information about how to join the chamber, how do they do that, Joe?
Well, you can come to our website, asib.org. You can give me a call. I'm always here 24/7. When I don't pick up the call, remember, I'm just on the call with someone else. My number is 786-991-4889. Now, when you do come to our site, what you could do is you could peruse to see what it is that we have to offer. And there's a membership application right there that you can fill out. If you need help, call me. I'll be more than happy to walk you through it. We do value all the people that are coming to Florida, as it's outlined in my video. One of my catchphrases, Florida is open. And boy, you'd be surprised what kind of people are coming here to Florida. they're basically coming down here in droves because they're escaping areas that are locked down. The weather is not so great. And, flu is up, as well as the other diseases we don't want to talk about.
Okay.
We don't want to
I
invite.
don't know what other diseases you want to talk about, but that's enough with the flu. Yeah, right. So we're doing okay down here. We're actually a bit freer than the rest of the country in a lot of ways. So people are coming down, enjoying the sunshine, nice weather, and freedom in a sense. So, Joe, I this is always a great treat for me because I do care so much about the chamber. Actually, I have to disclose the fact that I'm the president of the Aventura Sunny Isles Beach Chamber of Commerce on a voluntary basis, and I have been doing that for quite a while. But I think it's really important for the community to have a flourishing chamber of commerce, one that is concerned with the commercial ventures. And Joe, when you're out and about, what do people think about a chamber when you tell them that you're the ambassador for the Chamber of Commerce? Do they kick you out of the store, or they say, "Oh, nice"?
Oh, often they do kick me out of the store. They're very well. I'll tell you, the people down here are very polite, as opposed to the people that you would meet downtown Times Square district in
Yeah.
Manhattan. They're a little bit more coarse up there. Down here, they're very, very pleasant. Oh, would you like to have one of our brochures or maybe a piece of candy while you're leaving? They're nice. And
Okay.
actually, people are shocked because they don't understand that we have a chamber of commerce. We're a legitimate chamber of commerce right here in Aventura and Sunny Isle Beach, which is a garden spot for Southeast Florida.
Okay, Joe, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us on Route 664, the Road to Human Kindness. The Chambers of Commerce are part of the Road to Human Kindness, and they're very valuable. So find out about your own Chamber of Commerce in your own area if you're in Aventura and Sunny Isles Beach. And we certainly hope you'll think about joining that chamber. You can be joining as a good citizen or as a business, either way. We do welcome folks who don't own businesses but are just in the community. It's important for everybody, the consumer as well as the retail merchants. Everybody needs to get together and understand how to make the community a better place to live in. So this is Route 664, the Road to Human Kindness. I'm your host, Les Winston, and we're with you every week here on the community newspapers studio. And I also wanted to suggest that you pick up the community newspapers anywhere you find them in the various cities where they're published, and read all about how we take part in that process. We're part of every community. We want to help every community become more philanthropic and do more for themselves through their own citizens and through the gracious giving of their own people to causes that they care about in the cities and the local communities that they want to support. So this is a process that's going to take a while. It can't be done overnight. Endowing America is a pretty big project. We want to change the country from being 30 trillion in debt to 30 trillion in endowment, and that's going to take some time to do that, but we can do that one endowment at a time. Thanks for joining us here on Route 664, the Road to Human Kindness. You can catch us on Facebook, on YouTube, and also please check out the website, socialcharity.org. We'll be with you again, same time, same station next week. Take care.